Hello, my name is Louise Cruz, and I am the Nutrition Education Coordinator for WellWorks. And today's topic is mindful eating, how to eat with no rules for optimum health. So typically when clients come see me, the first thing is that they say, I want to lose weight. And it's usually for some specific reason. So I need to lose 10 pounds to get back to my healthy weight. Or if I lose 5 more pounds, I can fit into that dress for the wedding. I need to lose 15 pounds so I can get off my blood pressure medication. Or I feel better when I weigh this number and I need help getting there. So everything is tied to that number on the scale. And a lot of us follow these food rules, and there's no judgment when I go through these, because trust me, I've had my share of food rules, and I still have some that I kind of catch myself with. So these are the main ones that I hear from people. So first of all, that number on the scale just determines everything. So all our rules are typically around that. So this one you hear very often: don't eat after 6, or don't eat 2 hours before bedtime. Someone had told me that they eat on 6-inch plates so that they can control their intake. Or some people eat on certain colored plates so that the food's not as appealing. A lot of times people will say that they have one cheat day a week or one cheat meal a week. Drink a big glass of water before you eat so that you eat less. I'm sure you've heard that one. And of course, everybody is very much into measuring portions and counting calories. And then this is my favorite: I'll cheat now, just exercise it off later. So everything is based around that number, and these behaviors become very restrictive. So what is the conversation you have when you break one of those rules? Typically it's something like this: that you've messed up, or you have no control, or, oh, I'll just forget about it and I'll start again tomorrow, or I'll start over on Monday. I don't deserve it. Oh, I'm never going to be that good. I can't do this. Those are typically the conversations in our heads. So we need to just break all these rules and start fresh and learn to have a healthy relationship with food. So that's the deal today. We're going to talk about no food rules. So our rules that we make in this diet mentality and the whole healthcare system that, we deal with focuses on the weight and not on the problems. And by doing it, we make things worse. So instead of saying, Louise, you have high blood pressure, so we need to look at how you're eating and how you're exercising and see what we can do to get that blood pressure down. They're going to say, Louise, you have high blood pressure, and it would probably go away if you lost 10 pounds. So that's how we shift everything to the weight. You have high cholesterol, lose a few pounds, and you'll feel better. So it just makes things worse. It compounds it. So why is overweight and obese considered a disease? So I'm doing this lifestyle class. It's run by a physician. So being a dietitian, I was just really curious what kind of stuff he's teaching out there. And one of the things that he continually says is that he considers overweight and obese a disease. Well, according to BMI, I'm overweight, and I don't think I'm diseased. I'm pretty healthy. So why can't you be whatever size, healthy at any size? Have you heard that? I know people who are super thin and not healthy, and I know people who are overweight and are super healthy. So we need to really just break away from that idea that our health is tied to our weight. So mindful eating. With mindful eating, what you're going to do is you're going to really focus on how you feel instead of how much you weigh. And the goal is to improve your health. So it's not so much about being in control and making, staying on the diet and making those choices to eat only good foods and avoid the bad foods. It's about improving your health. So that's the focus. So I didn't lose that 3 pounds I plan to lose this week. Okay, but how do you feel? That's what we want to look at. And it's about enjoying your food. Food is very social. It's very pleasurable. Food Network, everybody watches that, right? Because it's entertaining and it feels good to eat something that tastes good. So you need to enjoy it, not punish yourself for it. You also want to think about nourishing yourself. So this is a word you really need to incorporate into your vocabulary, nourish. And you need to nourish your mind and your body and your soul. So the three of them together. It's not just your body. So sometimes that cupcake is really going to nourish your soul, and that's okay. And remember, it's about feeding your body and not feeding your emotions, and about changing that conversation in your head. So you really need to start like slowing down, quieting your mind a little bit so you can hear what you're saying to yourself. And trust me, once you start hearing that, you're going to be surprised. You would never talk to anybody else the way you talk to yourself. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to look at the eating cycle. And it starts at the very top with why. Why am I eating? And then we move to when do I eat? What am I eating? How am I eating it? How much do I need to eat? And where is that energy getting invested? And this comes from a book called Eat What You Want, Love What You Eat by Michelle May. And I have her website on here also. It's amihungry.com. She's got a ton of great material that I recommend you go and check out. Okay, so these are a couple of different ways that we work through the eating cycle. So the first one is when we overeat. So why are we doing it? Something's triggering us. So either we're distracted, we're self-soothing, we're looking for some sort of pleasure. When do we do this? It just really anytime. And what kind of things are we eating? Probably comfort foods, right? You know that at night you've had a rough day and you just want something to snack on, and that's when you tend to overeat. So it's comfort foods that you're probably going to reach for. And how are you doing it? Probably very mindlessly, could be quickly, distracted. Sometimes people do it in secret because they don't want other people to see them do it. And then how much do you eat? Typically in this scenario, you're going to eat either until it's completely gone or until you say, oh my goodness, I'm so stuffed, I shouldn't have done that. And then where is that energy going? Well, all that excess food and calories is being stored in your body. So then we typically go from the overeating to the restrictive. And then why are we being restrictive? Well, either we're following those rules that we have, or sometimes we're punishing ourselves for overeating. And when do we do this? So again, it depends. You might have rules set up that it's, I eat every 4 hours, or I eat only at breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I make sure I eat before 6 p.m. And sometimes the when is after I've had a cycle of overeating and I'm doing this for the punishment. And then what are we eating? Well, when we're in this restrictive mood, we're eating our good foods. And whatever that means to you. For some people, that means it's low calorie, or it's low fat, or it's low sodium, or I'm not going to have anything that has sugar in it, and I'm going to eat just vegetables. So whatever our food rules are. How do we do it? Usually it's pretty set space, very rigid. Our food might be in certain size containers. And then how much? Typically in a restrictive setting, it's pre-measured that we're doing. We're using that smaller plate. We're drinking from a smaller cup, no second helping. So typically how much is pretty restrictive. And then where is that energy going? Typically in this phase, people are really like, I'm working out to burn off that overeating phase I just went through. Our goal is to be mindful when we're going through this eating cycle. So why are we eating? We're eating because I'm hungry. And when are we eating? When I'm hungry. And what are you eating? Whatever choice I make at the time, how are you eating? I'm eating very intentionally. I'm comfortable. It's open. I'm not hiding it from anybody. And how much do you eat? Well, it depends on how hungry I am at the moment. I eat until I'm satisfied. And where does that energy go? It goes wherever your body needs it to go. So that's the goal. And it sounds easy, but it's really not. So let's do an experiment. If I was with you, I would be handing you a piece of chocolate, but I do not have chocolate to hand to you. So we're going to just do this in your own setting. If you happen to have a piece of chocolate near you, then by all means use it. If not, I want you to imagine. Pretty sure everybody's tasted chocolate before, so you should be able to do this. Close your eyes if you want, if it makes the experience easier to imagine. So I want you to start by holding that piece of chocolate in your hand, and it's wrapped. So say foil or whatever it's wrapped in. And then I want you to start unwrapping it and really feel like, what does that foil feel like in your hand as you're opening that candy? What does it sound like? What are you hearing? What's the anticipation? Sometimes just hearing that unwrap, you start salivating because you know what's coming. So just feel that experience. Then I want you to take that candy and, depending on how big it is, either put it in your mouth or take a bite. And don't chew it, just leave it in your mouth. And what's happening in your mouth? So you've probably got more saliva coming up. You're tasting it. It's probably smooth on your tongue. Maybe there's some dripping down the back of your throat. It's melting. Now you can chew it. So again, as you're chewing it, is there crunch in it? Is it very smooth? Is it sticking to your teeth, or is it just kind of coating your mouth? And then swallow it. And how does that feel as it goes down your throat? That is called being mindful. Very different than taking a handful of M&Ms and throwing them all in your mouth, chewing them, swallowing, and going, oh, I don't even know what those tasted like. So that's the difference. That's how you want to eat. So with mindful eating, you really need to understand what it feels like to be hungry and full and when you feel those sensations. So one thing that I want to tell you is that full does not mean stuffed. Full means I'm not hungry anymore. And that's very difficult. Like, it sounds easy, but it's very difficult to understand and to understand the sensation. Hungry also can be a little tricky because if you're thirsty, it can feel like hunger. Anxiety can also feel like hunger. Excuse me. And when you're tired, you can feel like you're hungry. So you really have to pay attention to what you are truly feeling. So this is the hunger scale that it's very commonly used. And number 1 is like ravenous, like you are hangry, you have got to eat something. And then it goes down the scale till 5 is satisfied, 6 is full. And then as you go up to 10, you're like beyond full. Like sick is like Thanksgiving dinner after you've had a second helping and dessert. So that's how the scale works. So what you really want to do is when you go to eat, to think about, as I'm about to eat this, how hungry am I? I might not be hungry at all. I might just be satisfied because I ate lunch a couple hours ago and I'm not hungry yet, but I'm like craving a snack. So if I'm not hungry, then why am I going to eat something? So that's the idea behind it, is understanding why we're making choices and how we feel when we're making those choices. And then same thing, when you get to the point that you stop eating, how do I feel now? Am I stuffed or am I just satisfied? Where am I on that scale? And as you understand how you feel, then you can make modifications. And that goes with number 2, to eat intentionally. So you want to make sure that when you are eating, you are intentionally making that decision and you're not just like, walking through the kitchen and grabbing a handful of chips. You want to savor it. So exactly what we just did with the chocolate, you want to taste your food. How often have you eaten lunch in a hurry and when you're done, you're like, I don't even know what that sandwich tasted like? Or you eat it and afterwards say, man, that wasn't even that good. Why did I eat the whole thing? So you want to slow down and actually savor and enjoy your food and notice those flavors as you eat. So typically we don't eat just one thing. We eat things that are a combination. So a sandwich or a stir fry or a soup. So notice those different flavors and how do they interact in your mouth? And then stop when you're full. And again, full is not stuffed. Full is not hungry. So with mindful eating, we do need to do some rephrasing because the whole idea is really slowing down and making healthful choices. But in doing that, we need to break a lot of those habits or rules that we follow. And the biggest one I see is the restrict and overeat. So we overeat and then we punish ourselves by restricting. So we have to get out of that thinking, and you have to get out of the good and bad food thinking. Because if you think that I can't have Oreos because it's a bad food, you're going to be thinking about Oreos all the time till you finally get your hands on a box and you eat a whole sleeve of them. So we need to break all of that. And part of that is by rephrasing. So the first thing that I want you to think about is saying I used to versus I can, or I could choose to if I wanted to. So an example would be, I can sit down and eat a whole bag of chips when I am watching a movie. How about if instead you say, I used to be able to sit down and eat a whole bag of chips, but I realize that I don't feel good after I do it, so I don't anymore. Or I could choose to eat a whole bag of chips if I wanted to, but I know that I don't feel great afterwards, so I don't do it anymore. It's just rephrasing it. Okay, so these are the things I said at the beginning that I typically hear when clients come see me. So we're going to look at how to rephrase these. So the first one, I need to lose 10 pounds to be back to my healthy weight. How about if we instead say, I want to feel less bloated, or I want to feel healthy. So now we're taking it off the number. If I lose 5 more pounds, I could fit into that dress. How about if the goal is, I would like to feel more comfortable in my clothes. I need to lose 15 pounds so I can get off my blood pressure medication. I would like to get off my blood pressure medication. I feel better when I weigh whatever number. How about I would just like to feel better? And then how about if we also could say, I want a healthier relationship with food. So by rephrasing these things, we really did take them from being negative and tied to a number to something that we have to achieve to it's more of a positive and it's how we want to feel. The other thing is that you could feel less bloated and that number not move on the scale. You could get off your blood pressure medication and still be the same weight. So you did what you meant to do. Otherwise, you're looking at just that number, then you failed, and you didn't fail. So you've just got to take that number out of it. All right, the other thing, number 2, is that you need to really recognize those emotions before you eat. And you need to keep in your mind that food intervention will never solve an emotional issue. So if you're eating because you're sad, when you're finished, whatever you ate, you're still going to feel sad. And you might feel worse because you might be beating yourself up for choosing that food in the first place. So you've got to really look at those emotions and why are you choosing to eat? And if you're trying to comfort yourself or distract yourself, is there a different way that you could go about doing that that would be more healthful for yourself, that you can nourish yourself? So that leads us to number 3, is learning to nourish yourself. So when you pick a food, just think that, is this food going to nourish me? Is it the best thing to nourish my body right now? Is it going to nourish my mind or nourish my soul? Sometimes, say you're at a party and everybody's having cake, that cake is going to nourish you at that moment because it's making you happy. It's making you part of the celebration. So yeah, that's the right food. If you ate a carrot stick while everybody was eating cake, how would you feel? Probably not happy. So that's not nourishing your soul. If you are stressed and you need to eat something and you know that, nothing else is going to work, brushing my teeth isn't going to do it, I need a snack. Okay, so open the pantry and what is the food that's going to nourish you the most at that moment? So the cookies are not going to nourish me, but the veggie plate I have is going to really nourish me and it's going to solve the same problem. So I'm going to go with the veggie plate because then I'm not going to beat myself up later. So really thinking about how those foods are going to make you feel. And then don't shit on yourself. So I should eat those carrots for a snack. I should have had whatever instead of the ice cream. Don't do that because it's negative and you're making yourself feel bad and you're setting yourself up now to restrict later, to punish yourself for what you just did. So instead say, I I could eat the carrot for a snack, or I could have eaten the carrot for a snack, but I opted for the cookie instead, and I really enjoyed it. That's okay. You want to avoid the trigger foods. So say potato chips, like we talked about earlier. I could eat a whole bag of potato chips if I chose to, or I could eat a whole bag of potato chips if I keep them in the house and they're easily accessible. Right there, I am able to understand that those potato chips are a trigger food for me. So I can make healthier choices if I keep those potato chips out of the house. And maybe eventually I'm going to be at a spot that I will be able to have just a few potato chips and not, go crazy with it. Then it'll be a safe food for me to have back in the house. And ways that you can phrase this so that you're not punishing yourself is like potato chips are not nourishing for me at this time, so I choose to keep them out of the house. Same thing, cookies are not the most nourishing food for me at this time, and I need to have them out so I can make choices that will nourish my body more. So trying to make it into a positive. And you don't need to be in control when you are in charge. And I hear this all the time from people. Oh, I lost control. I just lost control of my diet. But if you are mindfully making decisions, then you are in control because you're in charge of those decisions that you're making. So if at that moment you decided, I'm going to have a piece of birthday cake because I'm at the party, you're in charge. You make that decision. There's nothing to feel bad about. If you say afterwards, oh, I totally lost control and ate that piece of cake, then it was not a mindful decision that you made. Once you're eating mindfully, eating becomes more enjoyable and more relaxed instead of, stressful and making you feel guilty about it. The food does not become the issue anymore. Those issues with food go away once you start eating mindfully. And your weight will also stabilize, and that will not be the focus because the number is not going to matter. If you're eating healthfully and you're eating mindfully, your body's going to figure out where it needs to be. You're also being kind to yourself. So like we said earlier, you would never talk to somebody the way you talk to yourself. So really being mindful helps you to be kind to yourself. And it does not have to be perfect. It is never going to be perfect. But that's the whole idea, is that not being perfect kind of is perfect. Every moment is a learning opportunity. So if at some moment you think, I could have whatever, I need a snack and I could have the veggie plate or I could have the ice cream, and you say, you know what, I want the ice cream, but I'm only going to have a few bites. You take the ice cream and you eat the whole pint and you feel so sick today, and tomorrow your stomach is all upset. So now you know that probably was not the most healthful choice for you. But instead of beating yourself up, learn from it. Yeah, that didn't work. Next time I choose the ice cream, I'm going to scoop it out and put it in a little cup so that I can control the portion better and actually enjoy it and not feel sick. And there you go. You learned from it. You don't no need to feel guilty or feel bad about the choice you made. Learn from it and move on. So that's mindful eating in a little tiny nutshell. There's so much to it, and it's really not as simple as I maybe made it sound on the PowerPoint. There's a lot of thought that has to go into it, and you really have to slow down to think about what it is that you're actually doing and how you're making choices, why you're making choices, and how you're treating yourself. So if you are, binging and restricting, punishing yourself for food choices that you make, then that's not a healthy relationship with food. And those are not the best choices for you. So you really want to learn how to make the most healthful choices, the things that are going to nourish yourself. So if you feel this is something that you need help with, I am here. I'd be more than happy to help you. Just log into the WellWorks portal and you can schedule an appointment with me. Great spending some time with you. Thank you all for coming. Bye.